Okay, morning to all of you who are here in this room and also to all the other watchers who are going to watch this on YouTube. Like always, we continue to do this series of learning, basically which we started some time back as an initiative at Utilitarian Labs. We call this as the Salesforce Delivery Stories Consultant Knowledge Series. Right. So the idea or purpose behind this series, this initiative, is that we want to share our learnings out of real life implementations that we have done across industries, what challenges we faced, what hurdles that we faced, real time issues that we faced, both at the customer place, from the internal implementation process, whatever learnings we could get out of those challenges, and how did we provide the solution to the customer, and how did we solve them, and how did we at the end execute the entire project, is what we will be sharing in these series of knowledge sharing series that we call. Today, on similar lines, we have our principal consultant Chandan Kumar, who is going to share with all of us his experience of having worked on a implementation pertaining to the professional services specific to staffing and recruitment business. So it's a combination of two things here. It's not that one implementation, since he has worked on multiple implementations in the same domain. He will be talking, not only specific to this particular implementation, he'll also be sharing some of the knowledge that he has gained over a period of time, over multiple implementations in this domain, and what were the challenges across these implementations, and what are the key learnings that he can share with all of us, so that we can utilize them in our future implementations, not only in the same domain but across other domains also, because the challenges will be similar across domains. So I think it will be of great learning for all of us. I'm sure it's available for on YouTube on our channel. So I request all of you who are here, who are viewing this live, to also make sure that you view this on our YouTube channel, like it, and also share it with your other friends and Salesforce fraternity, so that this learning is not confined to this room. It is also spread across outside to all the Salesforce fraternity. Right? Thank you. Over to you, Chandan.
Thanks, Kiran, for the introduction, and thank you everybody being here at 9:30 when we are starting this session. As Kiran said, that these kind of sessions has been started in our organization primarily with a vision that whatever knowledge that we as a consultant do have, it should not be limited just to these rooms, it should go outside. So with that kind of vision, we are starting this. Today, again, as Kiran said, that I will be presenting you a particular use case which we have done implementation for a staffing client, US-based staffing client from healthcare industry. Although I'll not be limiting myself just to this client, because it is on staffing we are doing this first session. So some of the business flow I would have to let you guys know, so that whatever terminology in subsequent sessions, the subsequent slides that we do share, right, that you guys are able to relate. So we'll get into that as well. But before we venture into that, let me thanks to the team which has been part of this implementation for this healthcare client, to be more specific, into dental client. So the team, a few of the team members are still with us. So just briefing, this was implementation that we had done around 2 years ago, although the client is still with us, right, for the phase 2 implementation, which is where we are upgrading whatever features that we had extended. We'll talk about that with the AI enablements, right? So for the phase 2, we are still doing some development for them from the AI lens, right? So these are the team members, where Prithvi Sharur, Anjali Singh, in different capacities that had advised, right, in different roles. Not wasting a lot of time on that, let us start talking about this client. So this was, as I said, that this client was primarily from dental staffing, US-based client, which supplies. So the client as well will be from the dental sector itself, and the experts, doctors as well, which are going to act as candidate in this entire conversation, those will also be from dental. So when I am saying healthcare, it is a broad word. We'll be speaking about the dental staffing and how it will work, right? Now in USA, in India, this model is not prevalent. In India, whenever if a healthcare professional is placed, right, in, let's say, in a hospital like, let's say, Fortis or Apollo, it will be in permanent mode, right? It will not be like that a 2 hourly or a contractual base, right? Generally, that has been the practice in healthcare industry in Apollos or Fortis in India, right? Many a times you are bounded by the regulation when you are signing the contract with these kind of hospital, that if you are being onboarded on our payroll, right, you will not be having a separate practice, let's say as a clinic and all, and that is something that is part of contract management between Indian health sector and the doctor, right? But in USA you do have provisions where, let's say, as a practitioner, and that is something that is not limited just to healthcare industry, that is something prevalent in other business as well. Let's say you are a consultant, Salesforce consultant, I am a consultant, and over a week I feel that, hey, I do have availability of 20 hours, right? I can register, I can extend those 20 hours of services to any other partner as well, right? So in that kind of environment, in that kind of setup, we had to have them enable this client for permanent staffing as well, and the temporary staffing as well. Maybe at this stage things may not be clear to you guys. When we walk through further into the session, more things will clarify, right? Then scale and operating cycle and key user group. What were the things? So this client, I would not say this particular client, right? The staffing, the company size, if I talk about, it was hardly being, it was a family run business. And this family run business, when we get into challenges, a lot of challenges we faced because it was a family run business, right? So whatever that has been written, scale and operating and key user group involved, right? Whether be it account managers, be it recruiters, so all these people, they hardly had. So there was no segregation between different roles, right? When you are dealing or doing a CRM implementation or digital transformation, you would expect that I am doing for an organization, a large organization where hierarchies are pretty much clear. But because this organization was family led, number one, and this organization's size was little less in size in terms of 8 or 10, right? So this segregation, although on the papers we created, but it kept moving. People who are acting as account managers, sometimes the same set of people will act as recruiter as well, right? So this is something that we segregated, that hey, this is the portal that we are giving to you as a recruiter, right? We enable you as a recruiter, but sometimes people who are designated as account manager, those who are also handling the recruitment as well, right? So in practice, on the paper, and this is again, we'll speak on the challenges part, right? So operating scale and operating cycle, account managers created and manage job demand, and this is something, again, I'll leave it to the next slide. I'll explain this entire business flow before getting into the actual implementation, right? Now there comes the problem statement. In the previous conversation, I remember one of our consultant, Anurag, while explaining a real estate project, right, he was talking about change management and what challenges implementation poses when you do have client whose age, again, at the risk of offending few of the people, who, although my intent is not that, right? So the age of this client, right, was 70 plus, and all of the people who acted in role of I would say account managers or recruiters, all those people belong into the same age group, right? For this implementation on a later stage, what we did notice was that probably this client did not have that business expansion wala idea. Okay, somebody would have throttled all the things, be it demand management, be it candidate management, be it managing the clients. All these things were happening primarily on the Excel, primarily via the phone. Even email that we have written, right, I'll say hardly 20 to 30% of the communication means the job description or the demands which were coming to this client. Hardly 30% of those jobs or demand were coming from email. 70% of the demands, those people sitting in the US, again, I should not be going on those lines, right? Uh, uh, were taking from the phone, right? And it was not that they did not have volume in terms of business. They had volume as well. Okay, but again, every client does have their own understanding, their own expectations, right? We as implementation partners should not be questioning that, right? So the challenges that we faced was with respect to convincing them that hey, you already have the licenses, right? You already have onboarded us, right? Now we need to fast track it, right? This implementation we had signed for just for 6 months. However, it ran for literally 2 years. Okay, we faced a lot of, again, in the subsequent discussion, we'll focus on that as well, probably the last part of this discussion, that what challenges we as implementation partner faced and what challenges individual consultant or individual technical leads face, right? So, as I said, that whatever jobs or demand that were flowing into the Excels, that were primarily via phone, the candidate management, everything was primarily via phone. And that would often result into, they were literally, we saw before we implemented the system, right? We saw at least 100 to 200 demands they would lose on. Okay, and they were pretty much aware, but again, maybe driven by that, hey, we are into a particular age group, we need not to express. So probably some kind of, again, not getting into that. So these are the problem statements that this client came up with. Okay, then going to the next part of the discussion when it comes to kind of licensing that we recommended. As I said, that this organization was entirely run by 8 to 10 people, right? So for the internal users, we recommended professional licenses, professional edition for the of the Sales Cloud. For the client, so the another category was candidate on the other side, who, and these guys did have a good one good thing that Indian staffing agency we do not notice. In Indian staffing agency, talking about, you will have candidates flowing whenever Indian staffing agency have to have the candidates. They will either buy the candidate data, purchase the candidate data from any of the popular job portals, or they will have their own website. However, in this implementation, what did we notice? This client itself, despite not having business expansionist idea, this client had a good amount of loyal candidate base. Whenever they would have job, they had list of, I would say, candidate whom they will call and they'll be available, right? So they were asking for candidate portal, that hey, we need to have a candidate portal as well, where whenever we do have jobs, right, we could publish it, and some provision you guys give us so that whatever jobs that we are publishing, right, that should be visible to them. So we had to, actually, these guys did not have the website as well. We had to design a basic website where we had career portal, right? And then we used to publish whatever jobs that we, the account managers would create in the system, right? That needed to be published on their career portal, number one, and on the candidate portal as well. So that candidates who are part of their loyal base, who has been given the logins, previous logins. So we were talking about temporary staffing, right? That discussion is coming into the picture. So let's say a particular candidate who has, let's say, opted for 40 hours of services for a particular hospital of this client, right? He may not be available for next 2 weeks, but then again, he will express his availability for next, let's say, third week or fourth week, right? That hey, I am available, right, for 40 hours or 50 hours. So as part of system, we had to do like, okay, this candidate is available, this candidate is available. There was something. So we'll get into that details as well. Coming back to the licensing. So ideally, we should have as partners for the candidate portal and clients, right, to manage client. Ideally, we should have convince them for Experience Cloud, but then there were cost constraints, right? Initially, when it came to initial investment, they were like, no, initial investment should be less. So we had to go for some web-based application that we provision, our technical team provisioned for their external user, which is client and the candidates, right? Now coming to, as I said, that whatever discussion or whatever implementation when we start talking, right, it will not be useful unless you guys do have an idea on the staffing as a business, right? So staffing as a business, on an overall level, you guys would be knowing where you will have agencies, you will have organizations, right, which manages the hiring of different set of organizations, right? Let's say we as Utilitarian Labs, if we do not want to invest our HR capacity on our own internal recruitment, there are agencies outside, there are organizations outside to whom we can outsource these hiring or recruitment requirements, right? We just need to give the position, we need to give them job description, whatever salaries that we want to working environment and all those stuff. They will have the system in place, they will provision the candidate, they will schedule the interviews, a different round of interviews and all those stuff, right? Now, these staffing agencies that we are talking about, they need to have the system because Utilitarian Labs for them happen to be just one client. Like us, they will have 100, 200, 500 clients as well, right? So they need on any given day, these guys would be dealing with some 5,000, 6,000 or 4,000, depending on the scale of their business, right? They would be dealing with these kind of volumes, right? In terms of client, 100, 200 clients on any given day. 200, 400 jobs on any given day, and 4,000, 5,000. So that is the kind of scale that we are talking about, right? So we as Salesforce partner, right, enable them in their various duties, right? We need to enable, we need to provide them some sort of system. So how does their business start from a system perspective, right? That what are the things, means they may have a lot of things to do, right? But where does we come into the picture for these kind of staffing businesses, right? So first of all, they need to onboard client like us. As I said, that Utilitarian Labs, if wants to outsource their job, right, how they will come, either we approach them. So I should have, let's say as a HR, if I am HR of this organization, I should have something, they would have done some marketing. I will simply Google that, hey, what are the staffing agencies, right? So they need to have some contact form on their website, or either their field sales team would approach our HR team, right? So, and thereafter qualification, nurturing whatever qualification criteria might be there, that they, a particular staffing agency would be dealing just with the executive search, right? When they will approach us, we might say that, hey, we hardly have 2, 3, being a small organization, we hardly have 2, 3 executives, right? So we are not interested. But if they are providing services into, let's say, so there will be a class qualification mechanism. They will say, no, this organization, we are not going to, let's say, deal with, right? Because they hardly would generate 2 position or 3 position in a year, right? However, there may be another organization, let's say, no, they are dealing with, let's say, supplying of Salesforce developer or consultant as well. So they will get volumes from here. So qualification, then nurturing mechanism. Then if, let's say as an organization, we are ready to provide them jobs, then some contract management would happen. So this entire thing, entire flow get into your new client onboarding, where entire lead management, opportunity management, contract management, that we from a system perspective and as implementation partner need to provide them. Then comes account management, right? So we need, once their sales team job is done, there will be a handover from sales team to their delivery team, right? So it is there that the next position in this staffing business comes into the picture, where they will have account managers tagged to different partners like us, right? They will be on daily basis or weekly basis or fortnightly basis. They will be engaging with the HR team of their clients to ensure that they get a ready flow or seamless flow of the business. Otherwise, one staffing agency, any organization may have multiple staffing agencies, contract with multiple staffing agencies, right? So it is the job of account manager, and to account manager, again, as a Salesforce implementation partner, we need to give them some view so that they are able to log whatever conversations they are happening. They are able to do the email activity. They are able to see that, hey, whatever past interactions, what past businesses that I had with these clients. So that comes under account management, right? Then you do have job life cycle management. Once account manager has been able to secure a job, right? Because in staffing agency, demand is nothing, securance of a job, right? For a different position. So once account manager has been able to secure a job, his job is over, right? He will just start overseeing those jobs at a very surface level, because it is he who is responsible primarily. But when I am saying his job is over, I am talking about into nitty-gritties, right? Then this job will be assigned to something called recruiter. There is a position in staffing agency, right? That is called recruiter. So this job will be assigned to some recruiter. Now, if they are playing with the volume, there may be hundreds of recruiters, there may be 25 or 50 recruiters, depending on the volume. So this job will be assigned to a recruiter. So we need to do, before we get into recruiter, this entire job life cycle has to be managed, right? There will be different stages and all those stuff. Then once a job has been assigned, right, to a recruiter, to the recruiter we need to enable with some sort of portal, some sort of interface, so that as soon, let's say I'm a recruiter, in the morning I'm logging in, I need to see that, hey, how many jobs has been assigned to me, on which jobs I need to follow up, on which job, how many candidates I have supplied as a recruiter, right? And what are different stages that different candidates are lying in on different sort of jobs, right? So recruiter need to be enabled with these kind of capabilities, right? Once recruiter, so I'll say 70 to 80% of the job, although I should not be quantifying this, but in this entire cycle, 50 to 60% of the job lies on the head of a recruiter, right? Because he has to, first of all, as soon he gets a job, he needs to do candidate sourcing strategy. Whether this candidate sourcing has to happen from some internal candidate pool that their organization does have, or the job has to be posted on some job portals, right? What strategy that he needs to adopt, right? So he needs to do, once that strategy has been decided, then entire life cycle of the candidate, right? Once candidate coming into the system, making sure that the candidate applies for that job, or if he has already applied, interview submission of the resume, taking the feedbacks, then you do have interview scheduling, second round, third round, depending on the client requirement, right? And maintaining their status, of course, means the systems that we do develop make their life cycle easy. However, when it comes to human touch, right, that still remains, right? So it is the recruiter who manages, I'll say, 50 to 60% of the workload that entire staffing agency will have. Then there is something called candidate portal. Okay, candidate portal, primarily few organizations will have this policy that until candidate has moved to a certain stage, we will not provide them these accesses, while certain organization, again, that is the organizational call that different staffing agencies have to take, that at which stage candidate portal access has to be provided, and if at all some staffing agency has asked for that, we provision candidate portal as well. Then you do have client and supplier portal as well, where staffing agencies to their clients, right, supplies some sort of enables with portal, so that whatever job requirement, right now, again, coming to Indian environment, right, generally clients of these staffing agency generally does not opt for a portal from staffing agency, primary reason being, I would say, that any company, any large company or enterprise level company will have 50s or in tune of 40 to 50 suppliers. Now it is not possible for them as well to subscribe for 40 or 50 client portals, right? So they will generally, but still in USA and European country, this practice is prevalent, right? Where they will ask for that, hey, can you enable us? Can you provide some sort of portal, so that rather than calling your account manager, which may not be available at times, let's say, right? Or just for reasons of diversity, I would say, in channels, they would ask for client portal. So client portal as well for some client we have provided in the past. And then I'll say 20 to 10 to 20% of the clients of these staffing agencies ask for post onboarding support as well. When I am talking about post onboarding support as well, that is negotiation. Once into 80 to 90% of the clients will of the staffing agency primarily will say that yes, you have placed the candidate, means interview has been cleared, that's fine, candidate has accepted job on a surface level, not from a negotiation perspective. On a surface level, fine, you hand over the candidate to us, whatever payments or fees or invoicing mechanism that you do have, you initiate that, right? However, 10 to 20% of the client also ask for that, boss, I am not going to clear your invoices, whatever financial or commercial understanding that we do have, until uh, until certain days, until let's say probation clearance and all those stuff. In those cases, post onboarding support becomes important for these staffing agencies as well. Even if the client says that no, miss, fine, I mean, probation clearances, most of the time it would be linked to the invoice clearance. So even in those situations, anyway, staffing agencies have to manage post onboarding support, right? Because if they do not ensure that the candidate remain attached to their client until probation, right, they will not get that invoice clearance, right? So anyways, they do take care every 10 days, because we also as an organization, we do have also people on the floor who we have hired through these kind of channels, right? So we have noticed that every 10 days or 15 days, staffing agency would call, hey, are you getting good support? The company is good or not, right? Because it is ultimately their financial or commercial interest is lying on the survival of that candidate into their client company, right? So many a times staffing agencies will also ask for post onboarding support, where they are able to negotiate, means from a system perspective, again through the system they are able to roll out offer letter on the behalf of their clients. Once offer letter has been rolled out, then you do have, let's say, negotiations. Then negotiation when happens, you have to engage with the client as well, you have to engage as a mediator, you have to engage with the candidate as well. Once offer letter has been accepted, then making sure that the onboarding happens in a right way. Again, the staffing agency has to negotiate between the HR team of the client and the candidate. So post onboarding support as well sometime has to be, from a feature standpoint, these organizations, staffing organization, has to be enabled, right? So this is, I will say, a 360-degree view of what all features or what all things we as implementation partners or any digital transformation company has to provide, right? These can be the areas in which staffing agencies can ask for some sort of support. We have seen clients where they are asking, no, just you provide me the recruiter portal, which is ATS primarily, right? Application tracking system. And the rest of things, this is new client onboarding, account management, something that we will still do wherever, whatever legacy system that they do have, right? So the most of the staffing agency, I'll say again 40 to 50% will focus just on that. However, we have seen that there are multiple clients who will opt for any or all of these features. So this was about staffing agencies. Now we will, assuming that you guys does have a fair understanding of the staffing business, right? Now we'll delve into the implementation for the healthcare industry, for the dental staffing that we were talking about, right? So what this particular client opted for, right? So this we are going to talk about. So there they had, of course, not taken that module which would support them into their sales activity. Their cycle from a system building perspective started from account management, I would say, right, where they wanted us to regulate their demand management, which is jobs, of course, right? For their account managers, we need to provide something. Okay, so that is where we talked about that account manager, what kind of view account manager should have, right? If he or she is handling, let's say, 5 or 7 clients, right, she should have access to all those 5 or 7 clients data, all the conversations, if that is being recorded, that recording mechanism, right? And then whatever candidates that they have supplied in the past, what is their current demand, how many candidates they are supplying, and all those stuff. So logging a particular, as soon they have got the demand, we provided a form, right, where they can log the job, right. Once the job has been logged, then job would be divided into multiple stages. We will not get into the details. So job creation, then job classification. We talked about that they had these two kind of mechanism where they were also placing the candidate into, I'll say, permanent mechanism and then temporary job mechanism as well. If any of the candidate is available for 20 hours or 40 hours in a week, right? So that category of candidate will get into temporary job mechanisms, right? Then candidate data management, right? As I said that unlike Indian environment where most of the candidate database would be purchased by these staffing agencies or the company staffing company, if they are choosing to post their jobs on various job boards, right? Unlike that environment, they had loyal base of the candidate, right? So they had this option of that, hey, if I do have a candidate or set of two candidates who approached us over the phone, give us option of manually logging the details of those candidates, right? So that option we provided. Besides that, we also enabled them with a web-based candidate portal so that candidate gets a login at very early stage, even if let's say there is no job visibility, and even if there is no job which a candidate can be eligible for, right? Even at that stage, if a candidate in the dental sector is asking for a candidate login, they would provide that, right? Where a candidate could come, candidate can provide all his expertise, right? Whether he is expert into X-rays, whether he is expert into, let's say, whatever different set of expertise that a dental staffing, a dental candidate would held, right? He will define his expertise and then he will define his availability, whether he want to go for permanent placement or whether he want to go for temporary placement. If it is temporary, how frequently he is available on a weekly basis, on a week, 20 hours, 40 hours or whatever, right? Then a basic website and a career portal. We already talked about that. For this client, we had to design a basic website as well and career portal as well, right? Then coming to the recruitment, what did we provide to their recruiters, right? You had account managers who are done. We have enabled their account managers. Then we have enabled their candidates, right? And then coming to, so you do have demand on the one side from the hospitals, right? Then you do have candidates on the another side, right? Now, once you do have both these things, there should be an intermediary, and that intermediary is called the recruiter, right? Who has been assigned this demand, right? And now it is his job because system is already. So we provided on the recruiter portal. I wish I could have provided you guys visualization of the recruiter portal, but again, because this is being broadcasted, probably we cannot provide that view, right? So what did we enabled a recruiter on his interface? Various filtering mechanism where by having some filters of the date, right, or of the job type or of the client, right, he could see all the jobs, right, that has been assigned to him for the future, right? Then once he does have visibility against those jobs, we provided something called recommendation engine, right? In that recommendation engine, based on the defined job requirement, candidates based on some skills code would be recommended, right? Now this was very, because if you remember initially we were talking about that this implementation is something that we had done around 2 years ago. So and this implementation actually happened in phases. Phase one, and that phase one was a very old methodology where candidates skill score was primarily being driven by keyword research. In the job description you have certain keywords, and rather job description was not even coming in, to be honest, okay. They had various positions, predefined positions of the job for which they are supplying to the hospitals. Against that predefined jobs, we already had said that what each job would require in terms of skills. So let's say job of I'll say dental executive would require these four kind of skills. So we already had predefined against every job, and then we will go at the candidate system will go at the candidate level, as well, manually these things. So there was nothing called means. Right now, when this video is being recorded and when we are talking in this room, right, there is a lot of hue and cry around AI. But when we were doing this implementation and considering the digital maturity of this client, right, and considering also that this client was hiring just for a very niche requirement, that is into in not even in healthcare, just into dental staffing, right? So they were not up for these AI features. So we just configured at the job level, at the for the predefined jobs, define the skill sets a job would require. At the candidate level, again, they had not opted for the resume parser initially as well. So candidate data will also flow either from the candidate portal based on whatever fields that we had given, right? So at the candidate portal, we had specifically defined, had a field called skill sets, where they would manually define that, hey, these are the skill sets that we do have, or if it is a manual entry, again, during the manual entry as well. So the keyword research matching when it is coming to the skills recommendation engine that we are talking about, and the recommendation engine, the skill score that we are talking about, right? So the skill was being scored based on the key research. Means again, talking right now 2 years down the line, when we do have various kind of AIs, right, coming into the picture, this may be a very old or traditional way, but that was, we will talk about the phase 2 as well, right? So we provided recommendation engine to the recruiter so that he can see, rather than manually going through the list of candidates, that, hey, which are the candidates who are available, which are the candidates who are skilled for this job, right? We provided them recommendation engine where system itself could rate the candidates, various candidates from candidate basis, candidate database, right, on the skill score, and whichever candidate rated good in terms of skill score, those candidates would be supplied, their resume would be submitted to the candidate client, sorry, right? Then client will ask, of course, for a brief interview. If it is a temporary staffing, of course, it will be very brief. If it is going to be permanent placement, right, for a longer term, then probably the interview may be face to face. So we had two kind of provisions for having the interview. One was offline and another was online. If it was online, then we had configured this system, right, on the Google Meet, where Google Meet a link would be sent to the client as well and to the candidate as well, right? Then entire application life cycle management, stage-based recruitment pipeline, temporary versus permanent. So all those statuses we had to maintain. Means recruitment life cycle, you guys pretty much know, right? Because you have been a part of the employment, so you would know, right? So because I do have a lot of things to cover, and probably if we get into the details, right, the most important enablement for recruiter that we had done was primarily, I'll say, 2-3 things. One is enabling him or her with a recommendation engine, which removed that manual candidate selection and all those stuff. Then interview scheduling and the status management in the entire life cycle. So those were the things that we enabled recruiter with, right? So this was, I'll say, initial demand, where one, you manage our jobs. There should be something when we receive a call from the client, right? However, the client portal initially they have not taken, so the demand management still remained via phone, where clients would call them, or this staffing client would call their clients, right, and they will have the job, right, and whatever jobs that they would have, their account managers will receive, log that job, then they will get into candidate database. Once they do have sufficient candidate, then the recruiter will come into the picture. So the initial implementation, I would say, was on the basis of these things only, right? Then you do have phase 2 implementation, right, where we offered multiple kind of upgrade, right? And that was when I'm saying multiple kind of upgrades, that primarily came from multiple staffing implementation that we have done in last 2 years for the various clients, right, Indian clients primarily. Okay, so 2-3 things that we talked about, and that may now, probably whatever conversation that we will have, probably I'll be able to connect with you guys more in this age of AI, right? So even right now we are seeing that whatever job descriptions, right, that is being written, that is being written manually. So the clients would give me entire stuff, right? It may be over the phone. Most of the time still it happens over the phone, because as I said that in Indian environment, clients are not ready for the client portal, right? So they will just say, hey, we do require Salesforce developer or Salesforce consultant. This should be the experience, blah blah blah. And the job description, they will say, hey, either I am dropping your WhatsApp message, or you just manage it at your own, right? So it becomes for a generalist recruiter or account manager, it becomes very difficult for logging the job description about a job which he or she is not familiar about, right? So we have started doing this practice of that, hey, we should enable, right, wherever the job description has to be logged, right? The job description should be written by the AI. So we need to provide at the job description level itself, we need to provide a button which remains connected, of course, to some LLM. Okay, this LLM can be hosted by us as well, or it can be of client as well. So there he needs to provide a prompt, just a prompt, and then AI will write the job descriptions, right? Then whatever, now once job description has been written, job description most of the time will be in academic language, right? When you guys would have applied for various kind of job, you on various portal, you would have noticed a 20-liner job description, requirements, roles, responsibilities, and all those stuff, right? Now from a system standpoint, right, system needs to understand that job description, and needs to be broken into skill sets, right? Then not only it needs to be broken into skill sets, there must be some sort of categorization that, hey, into this job description, what has to be focused more and what has to be focused less, right? Then only the system will start looking for the appropriate candidate, right? Because the recruiter or the recommendation engine job is primarily to match the job description with the candidate, right? Now this cannot happen if, first of all, job description is not detailed, not clear, and second, job description is not translating into right kind of skills, right? So this is again where we took help of AI, where we various prompts, right? We are asking AI to translate this into skill sets, and then categorizing it into must have and should have. So this implementation we did for 2-3 of our client, and then we approached this particular client from the healthcare industry that, hey, we are still living in manual, as I said, coming back to the previous topic, that they had predefined set of positions for which they were doing hiring, right? So we had already set the skills. However, job description and all, they were still not writing, right? Are we exceeding on time? Doing okay, fine. Probably in 10 minutes further we'll take, right? So when it comes to AI JD authoring, and then in bringing intelligence into AI job description, that is breaking a job description into skill set, categorizing it into must have and should have, and then looking out for the candidates who matches with those kind of skill sets, right? So these two things, besides other things as well, we'll talk about, right? So these two things we implemented for this client into phase 2, right? There are a few other things that we have done for this client, that is in terms of skill scoring. As I said, that skill scoring as well was being done manually based on the key research. Here as well, we have by bringing AI, we have tried to bring intelligence into skill scoring, where once job description has been broken into skills, various kind of skills, we will have resume directly flowing in, and a real time, I'll say comparison or real time study of the job description and the resume will happen. And for that, we have enabled them with another feature where resume parser we have provided, right? The standard resume parsers, which are I'll not name some of the popular resume parser, probably you guys can research on your own, right? Anywhere it is costing somewhere, I'll say 0.2 to $0.3 per resume, I would say. In Indian environment, if I talk about, it is anywhere from 14 rupees to 16 rupees, which used to be a huge cost to any staffing agency. You imagine you are processing or dealing with 5,000 candidates every day, 5,000 to 14 rupees or 15 rupees. So that used to be a very big cost. Now, the resume parser, again, that happens to be a native product of ours, that would hardly today cost $0.05. If I translate it into Indian rupees, right, it will be costing somewhere 2 to 3 rupees somewhere, right? So we have enabled this client with the resume parser as well, so that if any candidate is coming with a resume, right, we should be able to put that resume into the candidate database, and there should be a direct matching between the job description, which has already been broken into skill sets, and the resume, right? So these are 4-5 AI features that we have introduced into I'll say various Indian staffing client, and this is something we approached this client as well, and in the phase 2 we have been able to implement for this client as well. Now, coming to the last part, I would say that what has been the learning. Okay, just a moment. Challenges before we get into learning, what challenges that we face. So 1-2 challenges I already had highlighted with respect to the digital maturity of this client, right? This client belonging to a particular age group, we felt that he was not, somebody would have convinced him for digital transformation. Of course, we were not, unfortunately, I'll say, we were not the one. But when we got into implementation, right, but that was the notion that we developed, that somebody, he was not pushed by his personal or his requirement conviction. It was a push from somebody else, and that's where we felt that, as I said, that this project was supposed to be completed in 6 months. It went on to 2 years, primarily because of the age and the digital maturity of this client, right? BRD, which was supposed to be completed in initial 4 weeks, it went up to, I'll say, 4 or 5 months. Okay. Similar problem we faced during the training. We had to do a lot of training. Means today we'll conduct a demo or training of a particular feature to this particular user. Tomorrow again, the client would come that, hey, no, we need to include this person as well. A month later, maybe again some set of more people will come, right? Or they would have forgotten as well. That kind of incidences as well, right? That we faced, right? So that was, means whatever challenges that we faced was primarily because of this low digital maturity, I would say, right? So as a organization, now we'll delve into something called learnings, right? Or what learnings we as organization and we as individuals drove, right? So those learnings were primarily due to, I'll say, low digital maturity, right? So whenever we are getting into I'll not categorize that, hey, we should not going for implementations where the digital maturity is very less. There are various industries. I was seemingly blaming a particular age group for not being able to cope up with the technology, right? But I should not be doing that. There are industries which are being led by Gen Zs, but still those industries, still in terms of digital maturity, have not reached to advanced stages. So as an organization, as a consultant, when we are approaching these industries, or let's say individual or agencies, right, we need to categorize them based on their, hey, this is a particular industry. These people we cannot be expect to be highly techies, right? So probably if we are, let's say, during the requirement gathering, right, we need to relate whatever requirement that they are giving us, right? We need to relate with some real life examples, right? Then we need to categorization we already talked about. So we need to have in terms of timeline and in terms of cost as well, right? We need to have, okay, to a client which is in high tech, right, or techie, if we are giving requirement gathering timeline for 4 weeks or 6 weeks, to another industry which is not that digitally mature, probably we should have additional buffer of 2 more weeks, right? Then you need to look at how many decision making loops are there. right? Whether the person or point of contact that we are dealing with, whether he is the final decision maker or my BRD or whatever requirement that I have gathered. First of all, as a consultant, we have already learned that during the requirement gathering itself, we need to bring all the stakeholders on the table, right? But in any case, if you do have that, hey, a particular VP or a particular president has not been able to come on the table, right? We need to assess that on a later stage, can he come into the picture suddenly and say, no, 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 this is not the requirement. If there is any such possibility, then you keep that also into the mind. So these are few learnings that we have, means 2-3 learnings I would say that we have driven from this particular implementation, right? Uh, then digital maturity we already talked about, governance model we already talked about, right? So more or less, I would say, although a lot of things is documented here, right? But since we are running short on time, I'll say probably you guys can refer to the YouTube video again, right? 2-3 challenges with respect to major challenges that we face during this implementation as individual or as organization, I already have listed, right? Now I'll leave the floor for Q&A if you guys have anything. Otherwise, it's done from my side. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any questions?
I have a question. So, sir, you were talking about, so let's talk about the staffing industry. You said the client portal did not have the candidate portal. They did not have the resume check. They must have just entered the skills
Yes.
the candidate has possessed. But since acting as an intermediate between a hospital and the candidate, there must be some background check. And was that kept a track of?
So, probably again for the paucity of time, since I had to cover a lot of things, and this kind of discussion, you cannot expect that any speaker or any consultant would be able to do the justice by explaining you the entire system in just 1 hour. So, a good point that you raised about background verification. We had that provision. Once a candidate has been selected by the client, the staffing agency's client, the system would initiate background verification. Not only background verification, another aspect that we did not talk about, again, document management, right? Once a candidate has moved into a particular status in the recruitment life cycle, recruiter would initiate the documentation as well. Their whatever passports,
Aadhaar card.
whatever Aadhaar card, whatever in US
Previous
system you do have,
employment.
right? Qualifications, resume, everything. Whatever document that has to be taken, that will be done. Means candidate will be expected to before that particular status. Those options will not be visible, but as soon into the recruitment cycle, right, the candidate has gone to a stage, right, after that option of data upload, these files upload will be enabled, so that the candidate, it was a exhaustive list for this particular client. There was set of, I remember, 12 to 13 documents, right, that any candidate was expected to upload. Once he has uploaded that into the candidate portal for the internal user, it will flow into the Salesforce, where they will open documents one by one. They will see whether the documents is legible. Again, from their own perspective, they will validate it, right? On a surface level, background verification is a different part, which was being done by the legal agencies. I'm right now talking about very early stage, where the document management, right? So they will approve, they will reject. Once they, let's say, for any document that has been rejected, right, the candidate will be again notified, and he or she will be expected to upload those documents. So background verification and document management, all these things were the part of implementation.
And if I may add, I think it will go up to the candidate onboarding, right?
Yes, pretty much.
And even on that background verification, different organizations have different policies. Like some organizations, for example, if you look at this model, there is a agency which is asking for positions to be filled. It could be a Capgemini or a Cognizant or a TCS kind of a company who is working with another company called, let's call Utilitarian Labs, who is the staffing and recruitment company. So the entire thing is with Utilitarian Labs, who is using this portal, this application, for fulfilling the requirements from a Capgemini or a TCS or an IBM, right, who are asking us to fill some of their positions, which could be permanent, which could be temporary, which could be on contract to hire, different modes of employment are there. Then background verification, some clients will ask us to do the background verification before the candidate is onboarded. Then that is initiated by us, by Utilitarian Labs, who is fulfilling that requirement. In some cases, the client will say, no problem, onboard the candidate. We have 3 months time. During the 3 months period or 30 days period, you can do the background verification and give us the report. If the candidate fails, he'll be terminated. If he passes, employment will continue. So depending on the policy of the end client, it changes. Any other question? If there are no questions, yeah.
So, we have done this implementation for dental configuration. But configuration wise, can we change it according to the job requirement, or is it extended somewhere?
No,
It's
this.
for healthcare only.
No, so see, configuration and customization is something that you as a consultant already would be aware. This we can do pretty much for any client, at least with the kind of in the phase 2 implementation that we have done, that is completely configurable for. Earlier when we were into that where job roles were predefined, skill sets behind those job roles were also predefined, and then at candidate level as well, we were expecting candidates to fulfill their skill sets specifically so that the matching could be corrected. At that level, I would say right now those kind of systems are very traditional, but yes, the phase 2 implementation, this is something that can be configured for any type of client.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Chanda.